Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. It's the second day of the week. We're going to be looking at another track that's math rock adjacent. This one we're going to be looking at is from the band And So I Watch You From Afar. Kind of a creepy band name. The song is called Search, Party, Animal, which is also a very interesting title. I don't know what I'm in for with these guys. Let's dive in. This is a live Audiotree performance. Oh, it's going real hard with that groove. I like how there's some human errors there. Oh, what? You know what's wild is that it has a lot of elements of electronic music. Also playing around a bit with tonality. Ugh, it's going in real hard here. I see a lot of microphones set up though. I'm curious when they're going to get used. The guitar panning is perfect for this. Each guitar is like 70% panned to a side, so they're still a little in the center, but they have the distinct sounds. Oh. I like how this is a variation on that core guitar line that we saw at the beginning of the track. Oh, we shifted to 3. I don't know when that happened. They've just been grooving right along. Never even picked it up. And this brings back to 4. Cut to that halftime for the heavy groove. Wait a second. This was the part that was in 3. We're in 4. Bringing it all back. Dang.
This is Audiotree Live. We're in the
What?
studio with And So I Watch You From Afar.
Wow. All right. Maybe it's because we've done I don't know. I mean we've done some stuff. Dissonance theme was not that long ago. Before that we had what do we have? Oh, Multimedia Week, and a lot of that was a little bit more into the heavier themes, talking about heavier topics. So I think it's mostly just been theme. It's been a while since I've really gotten into like the jamming and the groove of a song, and just this was amazing. I am curious about the guitar, about the vocals though, about the microphones. I saw that at least 2 people had microphones in front of them, but this was an instrumental, so I'm very interested in their other. I see that they have more from this audio tree. We have a beacon, a compass, an anchor. Maybe more. That's the only one I see in the related. Yeah, though I'm gonna have to be listening a little bit more to these guys. That was phenomenal. And once again, just like yesterday's Toe, it's a very different side of math rock than what I'm expecting. It still shares a lot of the same ideas as the math rock I've been introduced to so far, but it utilizes them in different ways that are unique, which is excellent. I One of the main criticisms I've had of math rock over the past exposures to them is that it's technically impressive, but usually lacking the soul, if you will, the oomph that makes it music, which is very untechnical and subjective. But I feel like they're technically impressive works, and I usually really like individual aspects of it, but the way that the song comes together as a whole just never really moves me. And I mean, I'm seeing this week that doesn't have to be true. That math rock can do a lot of things. It doesn't have to be just what I've been exposed to. There's more facets to it. And this is an interesting one. So I am curious if this fits within math rock, like proper genre classification, which I know is already sort of an oxymoron. Genres don't have any hard classifications to them. But if someone were to play this for me and then ask me what genre is this, math rock would not be my first guess. I don't really know what I would say. It's hard rock with electronic leanings, I suppose, or maybe noise rock. I haven't heard noise rock, but this is rock that used a lot of noise in it, so maybe I'm right there. Uh, the math sections, I can't really say there were many. I'm really curious if people are going to agree that this is math rock. Again, not that it matters. Genre is just something we've made up to talk about stuff. It has its uses, but it shouldn't be used in every situation. And figuring out if this really is math rock, if it isn't, you usually won't lead to any sort of fruitful discussion. But I am curious. Fruitful discussion or not, I want to know. Um, The only thing that really seems mathy to me is the that main guitar line that's played for like, I don't know, 80-70% of the song by the guitarist on the right. I think he was on the right. Maybe not. I don't know. But it was heavy use of pull-offs and hammer-ons. And that's the closest thing that I can really think to the technical tapping, sweeping lines that I kind of associate with math rock. It also doesn't have a lot of the brightness that I associate with math rock. Math rock to me has a very specific sonic identity as far as the mix goes, and this embraced a lot of the darker and lower end elements that the rock composition, the electric guitars, the electric bass, the drums that they can bring to the table. It is very different than, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, stuff like Chon and Covet that I'm expecting from this week. It is interesting that I haven't heard anything like that. We're 2 days in, and what I thought was, going to be the whole week, we haven't even touched yet. So that's fun. That's awesome. But like I said, this is, at least to me, what I pick out as integral aspects of the genre based on my limited exposure. This is missing a lot of what I associate with math rock. So yeah, now that we've just kind of talked about it in general pertaining to the theme and stuff like that, let's dive into some of this music. Let's see what's going on here. Once again, though, just like yesterday, the drummer, man, the drummer is killing it. Not as busy as the drummer from Toe, but I think it's for the benefit of the song. Whereas yesterday I mentioned that a lot of the band was kind of restrained in their energy, kind of holding it back and working within a lot of potential energy. It allowed the drummer, it allowed the drummer to have this explosive forward momentum and to really be the kinetic aspect of the band. This is the exact opposite. The two guitars are injecting so much energy into the song that having the drummer would have been overkill. One, you wouldn't have had any constant, a frame of reference for that high energy to be played against. It would have just all been high energy, and when everything's at 11, 11 doesn't really feel like 11. You gotta have something to compare it to. So having the drums be a bit restrained while still having some really cool ornamentation in it is the perfect way to go about really letting your guitar work feel energetic and explosive, because it is in reference to something that's a little bit more muted. But that doesn't mean that the drummer didn't kill it. I mean, you got to look at the little ornamentation. Toe's drummer was a bit more flashy and really wanted to showcase and show, hey, look, I got some tricks up my sleeve here. Whereas in this case, because the drummer has to be a bit more restrained to be the constant, the frame of reference, the embellishments have to be, tighter. They have to be less flashy. They have to be less attention grabbing. But if you're listening to the drums, you're going to hear some really cool stuff, especially with the way that he utilizes the full range of his kit. I noticed multiple times when he could pull several different sounds out of a cymbal, whether he's hitting high up on the bell, hitting in the middle, hitting near the edge. The hi-hat, he uses the pedal to release the two cymbals and put them back again and get that nice, that, I don't know, like a whooshing sound, and use that to accent certain beats, alongside hitting the bell on the top of the hi-hat too. So just some really neat technical stuff on a more minute level. Like I said, less attention grabbing because the guitars are really the stars of the show in this song. They're the ones driving the energy, pushing the song forward. There are times when you want to undercut your driving energy, and there are times you don't. And I'd say a majority of this song, you really don't want to do that. The guitars are written in a way from start to finish to be what is pulling the listener to the end. If you undercut that, there's a chance that you can ruin some flow in the song, and you'll end up with the ornamentation actually being a detriment to the track rather than being an additive element. But yeah, I highly recommend. I always put the link in the description to the original video. Go check it out. Listen in to the drums. Specifically, try to hone into the drum tones, what they're doing. It's easy when the drummer is on screen. At least I find it easier when I can see what's happening. And then I don't know if it's just a visual element helps me piece audio to it or not. But with enough practice, you can really hone in on instruments even without a visual component. It's actually what I do when I listen to these songs. It's called orchestral listening, tuning into specific instruments rather than just taking the song in as a whole. But yeah, try to do that and listen to just some of the little lines and ideas that the drummer throws into his rather metronomic playing, just really keeping the groove and the time. There's some really cool things that he does, and I want to toss that appreciation out there. If and so I watch you from afar end up crossing this video, drummer dude, I see you, I hear you, killing it. Um, the guitarist, though, like I said, they're the lead of the band. They're the lead. Well, they're the lead of this song. First song I've heard from them. I don't want to make any wide gestures on it on the band themselves. They lead this track though from start to finish. One of the very, I think it is the very first thing we hear is that opening guitar riff. Uh, I think it's eighth notes, all hammer-ons and pull-offs. I think, um, and just a really gritty tone, lots of crunch to it. But the other interesting aspect is that it is. I want to pick this word right. It's sloppy. I think that's the word I want. You can hear it in the first few seconds of the track. You can hear it at the end of the track when he brings the idea back to finish off the song. There is a real human aspect to the guitar playing where you can hear, places where maybe he strummed the string before he went to hit whatever he needed to hit, or he didn't come off the string enough before he hit that open note or whatever. And it's all these little tiny imperfections that I don't think a lot of people would notice unless they were really looking for it. I think you really got to be critically listening for it. But once you hear it, I don't think you can unhear it, and I love it. I've mentioned in the past that I'm a real big fan of, I don't know what you not I mean it is a single take. At least that's what it sounds like to me. They probably did one take for the video, but maybe they could have done multiple takes for the audio, that kind of stuff. That happens a lot with music videos. But it's just human playing, I suppose, is the word I want for it. Allowing the imperfections to be present in the final recording. I've mentioned it a few times before. I think it was a John Gomm video. I think where he left a couple of things. I mean, that was just like hyper technical. I think it'd be difficult to play that perfect every time. Um, and I think there was a Bayard drum cam video where he lost a stick and he kept the take and he like played one handed while getting another stick out or whatever. It's to me it's real, right? It's one of the things I love about live music is the element that anything could happen and that sometimes it can be additive to a song. For instance, here I am curious if on the studio version if a lot of these imperfections are still present or if they fix them with multiple takes, or I mean honestly it is a one bar phrase that's repeated, so you'd really only have to nail a single 4 or 5 second take and then loop that in the DAWs. So I like I said, I'm curious if they would go for the one take route on the studio album or not. But anyways, let's get back to this. I love it because it adds this human element. It makes every part or every repetition unique and different, but in subtle ways. Like I said, it's nothing that really screams out to me like a mistake was made. It's more of just a subtle element to the playing, and it keeps the repetition fresh in a sense. Every line or every time it's repeated is slightly different. Um, and you can tell it doesn't bother him, the guitarist, and I think that's the biggest thing to me. Like if he was playing it, he just had like, a disappointed or ugly face every time he made a mistake. Ugh, come on, man. Like that would totally take me out of the performance. But he just owns it. He says this is what the song's supposed to sound like, and I just really love that. There's a little bit of sloppiness in it. It's a little, unclean, and that is fine. Music doesn't have to be pristine all the time. In fact, as much as I love a clean production, as far as the mix goes, I do prefer less perfect playing, which might sound contradictory. I like some dirtiness in the performance, but cleanliness in the mix. Um, I don't want to talk about this too much longer. I feel like I've kind of stayed on the topic for too long, but I really appreciate when somebody goes out of their way and allows a less than perfect take to exist, because we are less than perfect. Um, but here's where the next thing caught me off guard: the electronic elements, and they're not done with a keyboard or some sort of sample pad or whatever. Everything at least looks to be. There were some things that happened off screen, but I'm going to assume everything was done with one of the two guitars. I think the bass did a couple of effects, but they weren't really showcased too often, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, so they have these almost electronic style drops, these wide pans, these weird sound effects that they modify in different ways. They do like slurs up and slurs down. I don't know what the production term for that would be, but the gradual rising of a tone or falling of a tone. And they're doing all of this through effects pedals and stomp boxes and stuff, and doing things on their guitar, and it is just wild. That's where the noise element comes from. This is why I said that I might classify this as a sort of noise rock, assuming that that is what noise rock is. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before about genres. Mellow death should be melodic death metal, but it sometimes isn't. I don't. Why can't things just mean what they say? um, yeah, so they're doing all these wild things with their effects pedals. They're doing it live on their instruments, and there's just something fascinating about watching them create these sounds with guitars, instruments that don't traditionally do things like this, and they're utilizing their ability to change pitch, both gradually, like when they slide up and down the neck, and instantaneously, just playing a different note, to achieve these wild effects when paired with some of the stuff that they're doing on the stomp boxes and stuff. It is just it hits like an electronic song. You just groove along for a while, every once in and then every 30 bars or whatever, you get this nice little drop, builds up energy and tension, and then you come back in with a new groove, and I'm pretty sure like I jammed out to this whole song. I don't think there was a moment when I wasn't just bobbing my head along, because it is such a catchy, infectious beat with all of these little pockets. They know exactly how long they can keep an idea up, and then they will inject it with some energy, swap it up a little, go to a new groove. And like I said, once again, they just know how long they can stretch these ideas out without, having people lose their interest or having the idea overstay their welcome. Especially since a lot of this song is riff based with no melody line on top of it. So there is going to be an element of, uh, diminishing effects, where the longer one of these ideas lasts, the less interested, I would say, an audience member could be in the idea. So you can't please everybody, of course. Some people are going to be bored with it after 2 repetitions, 3 repetitions. Some people could listen to the same idea for days and be like, I don't need to move on to the next riff. Let's stick with, let's stick here. But at least for me, personally, I think they did a fantastic job. Some of the sections I think might have been able to stay around a little longer, but I think it's better to change it up before people get tired and leave them wanting more rather than to have people get bored in the middle of your song. So I think they went the right way with that, at least, again, my personal opinion about it. And, my whatever, my perceived length of these sections and how long I felt that they were lasting. What else? The bass I feel was a little underused, but it could just be the mix, or I mean possibly even my headphones. I think I might need to check this out. I've been calling out the bass not being able to be heard quite a bit recently. I feel like I'm becoming a broken record on it. And I might need to fix the EQ on my headphones actually. See what's going on. Or it could also be YouTube compression. Because actually, I've been listening to some stuff on dopamine. I don't think I have an issue there. So, I don't know. Maybe something I'll look into. But when the bass was present and shown, it took like, I don't know, like 2.5, 3 minutes for me to, see the bass being played and have the tone audible so I could actually place a tone to the bass. And once I heard what the bass sounded like, I could find it again, but it was usually very buried in the mix. I feel like a lot of this focuses on the guitar work, which makes sense given the genre. Math rock, to me, is a very bright treble-based genre. It is not super heavy, although this section does enter some heavy aspects, and I'm sure that the bassist helps widen and deepen those sections when they're going for that hard lower end sound, really hitting that jam. But when they're focusing on the higher end, the few times I heard the bass, it was not doing a lot of work, and there's actually a lot of pauses in it compared to what the guitars were doing. It worked. I don't know if the song would be that much better if the bass had been turned up, given a little bit more punch. Maybe it would have detracted a little bit from it. I don't know. But as usual, I do think it's a little bit of a shame not to be able to hear the bass. And again, it may be on my end anyways. I may need to make a new EQ just for these YouTube videos because I do EQ against FLACs. So, yeah. But that is something I thought about, was that I just didn't hear the bass enough, and when I did, it wasn't really doing much to aid what was going on. There was a really cool part at the end though when he picked up, I think it was in the 3/4 section, when the bass picked up the melody line, and it was a variation on what we had seen in the beginning, and I thought that was really cool, bringing back an old theme. The other cool thing was when we brought back this idea from the 3/4, the variation on the beginning, but we brought it back in 4/4 at the end. That kind of blew my mind. I didn't have enough time to analyze what was going on, but I'd wager there was an extra note thrown in there, an extra quarter note, or maybe, I think they was doing a lot of eighth note work. So there's probably 2 extra eighth notes in there that were implemented in a way to not make the section feel too different, but if you analyze them, put the 2 ideas back to back, you'd be able to see the difference. But yeah, really, really clever and subtle use there of, bringing back that opening idea in multiple different ways. So that was pretty cool. All right, I think that wraps this one up. This was good. I'm going to have to check out more of this. Even if it's just this Audiotree performance, I want to watch the whole thing now. This is where you guys come in though. Hit me up in the comments. And so I watch you from afar. Search party animal with colons instead of spaces between them. Let me know what you thought about this one. Let me know if you agree with anything I said. Maybe you have some additional information. Maybe there are things that you picked up on that I didn't even talk about. Let me know about them in the comments. Above the comment section, there's a description box. In there is a link for Linktree, which will take you to a menu with everything related to the channel. You want to join the Discord community? Follow me on Twitter, support me through Patreon, email me, check out what music I've been listening to lately. There's like a ton of links in there. Go check it out. Above the description box, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. We got another video that just came out a minute ago. It's going to be our special selection for the day. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as always. We'll be looking at another math rock song and then a special selection. Until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to. Have a fantastic